And there's a whole bunch over by the greenhouse, and there's a whole bunch more over here. You're welcome to pull some up by the roots, get it established at your place. It's really great for poulticing for stings. Like you get a bee sting, you get a black widow spider bite, whatever, it'll draw the poison out. It's really good for drawing. They also have a long stem, it's called lance leaf plantain, but it's more rare. This broadleaf one is more common. But my grandmother, when I was a kid, told me it was really good for stomach problems. You get an upset stomach, the digestive problems. So if you want to eat it or make a tea out of it for stomach issues, that's what it's for. But it's good as a poultice for any kind of burn or bite or sting or anything like that.
Well, so if you get a burn or a bite, you just rub the leaf on it?
You do more than, when you're making a poultice, you got to crush everything up. Okay. So buy yourself a mortar and pestle or whatever, or if you're out in the wilderness, if nothing else, just chew it up until you get a mash or whatever. You want to break the fibers, so you get all the juices, and you want to slap that on whatever it is, and then just tie it on, and then you want to change that every few hours.
Okay.
I heard a story about a little child that was bitten by I don't know, some kind of venomous spider and was in a coma. This woman told me the story. Now I wasn't there, I don't know the truth of it, but this is what she told me, was that he used basil and charcoal and poulticed that, and changed the poultice every 10 minutes, and it brought the kid out of a coma, and it drew the poison out. So I actually tried that on a bite that I got, and I don't know what bit me, and I used the charcoal and basil to draw it out, and within an hour the swelling that was that big on the back of my leg was gone. So there's a lot of plants that can really be your friends.
So to make the tea, do you dry the leaves?
No, you would use that fresh if you were for your stomach. Yeah. I mean, Susan Weed is who I follow, and a lot of times she recommends herbs be dried rather than fresh. Okay. I guess because they break down the tea better. There's a lot of people who've I've never been to school. I just have a whole library of books. If you want, that kind of an education, you got to go somewhere and pay to get that. I can only teach you what I know and my experience. So a lot of people don't know about the plants, they just know about the books. So getting to know the plants themselves is a whole other thing. Once you know what the plant is, even if it's just a common name, you can Google it, you can look it up in the books, you can go from there, right, Lexi? Let's take the whole plant up here.
Okay, great.
And we can see the root system and everything. This is the seed stalk. And as far as I know, I could be wrong, but this seed from this plant is psyllium, which you can buy in the drugstore when you can't go to the bathroom. So you're supposed to drink it with lots of water. She's a nurse, so she's already actually studied all this stuff. But from what I've heard, this is the source of psyllium. And it basically helps you with constipation, the seed of this plant. So I don't know where they get all the plantain psyllium out of the plant, but maybe they have fields of it somewhere and they just machine harvest it or something, I don't know. But there's plantain. Here, there, you can stick that in your... By the way, while we're here, there's several other plants in the yard here. This is wild violet. It's kind of nice being here in the shade before we go out in the heat. This is wild violet. It has there's two different kinds here on the farm. It has a bright, deep kind of purple flower, and then I have a variegated one. And they bloom in the spring. The leaves of this are supposed to help with breast cancer when you have it or when you want to prevent it. They're also edible. You can put it in salads. You can mow it and feed it to your horses. So it's a pretty cool plant. It's extremely invasive, just like the plantain. And down there you can see mint, which is what's in the tea. That's all going to bloom.
What kind of mint is it?
This is, I believe, peppermint. I've got, I can pass that around. You can smell it. It's my favorite mint.
Yeah, that's peppermint.
And this is catnip. That's what we're doing. Anybody have a kitty?
Yeah, right here I tried.
You tried what?
I tried the catnip, but she was like, eh.
Oh, well, It's also very good for babies have colic. And it's also really good if you can't sleep, make a tea for adults. But catnip. So I sell the seed of this, and I'm gonna start selling the dried catnip. And I'm selling some dried herbs on my new store that Valerie's putting on my website. So if people want my dried herbs, they cost twice as much as if you get them imported from Europe and some third world person's working for $1 a day to provide you with organic herbs, and they're shipped across the planet, or you can pay twice as much and get them from me if I have them. But they are, you know, at least from this biodynamic garden, and you know exactly where how they were treated and stuff like that. So you meet herbs here. But this is yarrow here. Here, Valerie, come on, follow me. We'll walk with you. You might want to take a picture of it in bloom. Here's the flower in bloom. The yarrow. This is one of the biodynamic plants that is used to make biodynamic preparations, yarrow. And here's the seed. With plants, you gotta wait until the plant is completely dried up. The seed head is completely brown when you're gathering seeds. Because if you gather it, you try to get seeds out of that, they're not mature, so they won't germinate. So any kind of plant that well, for the most part, because I've been saving seeds for like 50 years, all different kinds of plants. So, but the general rule for flowers especially, things like that, is you have to wait till the plant is dry on the plant. You'll see some other herbs in the sunroom in there where I dry them. But so this is yarrow, and this is used for stopping bleeding, you know, on the battlefield. It's really good for staunching wounds, and it's a very important medicinal herb. And it's one of the biodynamic herbs that we use in the compost pile in biodynamic. And here's the lemon. Oh, yeah. It had 40 lemons, and I repotted it and brought it out here in the sunshine.
Oh, is that the one you
so
had in your...
Yeah, so I mean, here it is, and it's got a lemon. I'm hoping that it'll bloom, and I'll bring it back indoors, and I'll have more lemons around Christmas. But this is a plant I wanted to show you. It broke off, so I'm going to just go ahead and harvest it. This is a shoe fly plant. And these beautiful little things dry beautiful. See, they're some kind of like I guess it's in the Nightshade family. But that thing is full of thousands of seeds. And evidently, it's supposed to repel flies. Who knows whether it does or not. But in greenhouses for whitefly. And a lot of people have a lot of problems and spray plants in the garden. Even I've never seen whitefly in the garden. But that's what it's for. It gets really tall and huge, and no insects bother it. Evidently something knocked it over. But it's really has this beautiful blue flower. So I just recommend plants like this for your yard instead of the Home Depot crap. I'm not trying to pick on Home Depot, but you know what I mean. The box store manufactured full of bee killing stuff. But this is nettle. And you can see, well, you can see that even the Japanese beetles are enjoying it. This is actually the flower of the nettle. And you can see here, this is the dried seed. Let me just pick this whole stalk. Now if you notice, I picked it with my palm of my hand. It will sting if you touch this part of your hand, but your palm has closed pores. So it won't sting if you get it from the palm. The seed dries from the bottom. So when you're harvesting seed, you get these guys. You get these guys, right? And here's a seed. Who wants some seed? Yeah. Put it here. For heart issues, amongst other things. That's a little tree.
I've been totally unsuccessful in starting Motherwort.
Really?
Because it's a gynae OB thing too, you know. And I'm trying to specialize in that.
Well, here, you hold this, and while she's filming it, this is Motherwort. This is. I know. I feel very sorry for you.
I've tried to start this plant so many times.
Soil from that across the road that's been farmed with soybeans and corn for the last 100 years and then take soil out of our garden, even though we'd only been here like 5 or 6 years. And you could see the difference in the vitality. What are you? Who are you? Anyway, this is the Motherwort seed. And it's a son of a gun to touch. You can see the little stickers on it. Painful. But I sell the seed and I sell the tincture of Motherwort online. So, getting ready to harvest it.
So is it part of the mint family?
Yeah,
Like the
it's
seed pods look similar.
Yeah, and it's got the square stem.
Yeah.
So, anybody need what Motherwort outside of you?
I could probably use some.
Where's your bag? You want? Well, you got the plant, and I'll give you a little bit of the seed if I can get this.
What's it used for?
I use it personally for heart, to help strengthen my heart, prevent heart attacks. Yeah, you put that in your bag. Wild lettuce, and this supposedly is a really good pain medication, as you know, as opposed to the opioid crisis. This is like the natural thing for pain. And you can see the little milky substance on it. See, it's sort of like milky.
Wild lettuce.
Wild
So
lettuce.
interesting, because I've seen a bunch of it come up this year,
See?
and I don't think I've ever seen it come up that much before.
This is poke. This is poke, and this is poke when it's young, and you're not supposed to eat it. It's edible in the spring, and they say you're supposed to change the water 3 times before you eat it. I've ate it when I was a kid all the time, and I eat it here too. In the spring only, and when it's, let me try to see, at about this stage is where I would eat it. That stage, and just the tips, top few inches. And I just throw it in with other greens. It didn't kill me. But anyway, it's poke, and I don't want it growing in here because it's very, very invasive. It's everywhere, and once they get started, it's really hard to get rid of them. Well, here's poke, and it's in flower, and all parts of the plants are potentially poisonous.
At this stage, you mean?
Well, at many, even the root tincture that I tincture, and you know, Susan Weed recommends for arthritis and rheumatism, the dosage is 1 drop. You know, you don't want to mess with it. It's really, really potent medicine. So you can see the little berries forming, and when the berries get completely formed, they're purple. They make a beautiful fuchsia dye, and birds eat them. And if you've ever seen the purple poops all over the cars, that's pokeberry. But no, you can only eat the plant when it's really young in the spring, when it's 6 to 12 inches tall and just the top tips. And if you're concerned, you know, steam it, throw out the water, steam it again, throw out the water, steam it again, throw out the water, and then you can eat it, according to people that really want you to be safe. But I personally, I have a stomach of steel, so. Plant rooting hormone.
So how do you get that? I mean,
You just take the cutting of the Forsythia, take a branch of it, and just do this with it. Put it in a jar of water, and then put the plants you want to root in with the water.
So kind of like willow.
Yeah, it's like willow. Trumpet vine. Here you can see people think this is poison all the time, but it's trumpet vine. And it's really invasive too. It likes to get all over everything, but it's not poisonous. But you can see it climbing up the tree. That's trumpet vine, and we're going to go and I'll show you. Fly plant, doesn't it? No, this is poison nightshade.
Oh, of course.
Susan Weed call it St. John's wort for the feminist.
and this is good for depression.
Depression. It's very effective, not for chronic or, you know, not for, you know.
And would you make a tea out of it, or?
Well, tincture it.
Tincture it.
I don't think you're going to find the flowers in a tea form. I think mostly you're going to find a tincture. I'm not sure, but you know, I discovered it last year, and I went, oh my God, it came back after all these years. It's like here it's established itself. So it's a very fragile plant.
Elderberry.
Elderberry. And you don't want to eat any green or red berries. You want them all to be black. It looks like the birds have had fun with this one. But I'll need to get up here with a ladder. But you see how just pulling on that and the branch broke.
I had no idea it grew as a
bush. It's a bush.
So Sharon, how old is that plant?
This one?
Yeah.
It's about 3 or 4 years old.
Wow. See, mine, I think are only like 6 or 8
Is that
feet tall.
propagatable?
It's because it's at the peak of the house. It likes water. They
Yeah.
grow along marshes.
Yeah.
And you have to go out and you know, engage with snakes and whatever. And it's in the mint family too. And
what's the name of it again?
the common name is ox knee,
Okay.
I think. It's a Chinese medicinal that is weedy, as Joe Hollis says, in the southeast. Weedy indeed. But it's the root of the plant that's dug up and then dried and used as a Chinese medicinal for arthritis, especially of the knees. So it's called ox knee. If you just Google, which is another thing I sell and eat, it has these little teeny tubers on it, which are just starting to form right now. You can see on the vine. And they'll get about the size of as much as a quarter. And you can just harvest them and eat them. But you can also dig up the root. And Rudolf Steiner said that the wild Chinese yam, it's called Baptisma, I can't remember the Latin name, but it's wild Chinese yam, and I just put them in a bag in the fridge. When we go in the house, I'll show them to you. They started to sprout even in the fridge, but they're a perennial plant that, as you can see, grow like a weed, and those will all be covered with these little tubers that you could just pick up after the vines all die, and then they come back again the next spring. And as you can see, they're spreading all over the place in the other garden. But here's 2 in here. It's got these little fan-shaped leaves. You harvest these to make tea or tincture in the fall. Before they fall, but when they turn yellow, that's when you harvest them. Supposed to be really good for old farts, memory, aging. It looks like marijuana a little bit.
It does.
And it has this distinct odor, if you want to.
So that's a
chaseberry
berry
tree. And it's really good for regulating women's hormones. Like if you can't get a regular cycle, you want to get pregnant, you want to not get pregnant, it's really important that you get that cycle. It's good for menopause too. It's a woman's herb. But smell it, it's kind of really stinky. So you can tell it apart from marijuana real easy when you smell it. It has a distinct odor.
Oh, Devil's
Devil's Club. Yeah.
And this is the vine that grows on it?
No. This is just briar.
Okay, so
So if you look at the very top, you can see a little bit of what the leaf looks like. It's struggling to survive. It's probably just way too shady or something in here for it. But it has, in the 40 years I've been here, I've been watching it. And actually I did a little research on it, and it's supposed to be a cure for diabetes. You know, so I don't know. It's medicinal that you get the root of. It's supposed to really help you live till you're like 300 years old or something like that. So I'm trying to learn how to use it.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
I don't know if I want to live to 300.
not one of my goals.
Anyway, I planted this way back when we went from 1 acre to 4 acres. And when I planted the ginkgo tree, which is there, see that's the big one. I planted a lot of these medicinals so that when I got old, I didn't need to go to a doctor. So this is the one that has the Chinese story of some guy that was in China, and he went up to the mountains to live in a cave and die of old age. And on the outside of the cave was this heart-shaped vine growing, and he started eating that. And his hair grew black, and he came down from the mountain and met this beautiful young woman, and they had 12 kids. And
Oh my God.
you know, so it's called the herb of immortality, you know, in
Okay.
Chinese. But Foti, F-O-T-I. But that's what that is, and it's taken over along with all the Jerusalem artichokes. What are you looking at? Huh. Anyway, but it's the root of this plant that is used in this Chinese medicinal thing. I do have the tincture, but I've not started using it yet because I want to make sure that it's completely safe on me before I sell it to somebody else. Well, you know. They have this whole very ornate, complicated Chinese medicinal way of preparing it with black soybeans that you cook the root in. Chinese medicinal well, actually it's Japanese, and it's a replacement for ginseng, only you can grow it like a weed. It's a vine that'll overwinter here, and you can put it up on a trellis. It's beautiful, and bugs don't bother it, and you just harvest the leaf and make a tea or a tincture out of it. It's used in Japanese cuisine, a lot of times for making pickles. I read that it is a really excellent preservative in place of vodka for making tinctures, but I've not tried that. That they actually use it for preserving plants. It's got a very strange smell. And they also have green perilla. But they use this in Japanese cuisine a lot, in like sushi kind of thing. I would imagine that might be makes a really interesting thing to make these little sushi egg roll, like little thingies, you know, if you want to get fancy. I don't know. Smell it. I sell the seed of that. See the process.
Say what you're doing now.
I'm making a herbal salve with plantain that has been infused for 2 days in organic coconut oil. Is what I use. You can use olive oil. I like only to use organic stuff on my skin myself, but you do what you want to do. But anyway, so this is basically been infused, chopped up and infused, and then I'm straining off the oil into this jar, and we're going to put it in the pan and melt some beeswax to make it solid, heat it up, and make a salve that we can put in a little container. And when you get a cut or any kind of skin issue, insect bites, it's just a really excellent herbal
What
salve.
about burns? Does it do anything for burns?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. My go-to for burns is aloe, always.
Aloe.
And then maybe after it's kind of crusting over and healed beyond the burn, and you want the skin to heal beyond that, then you can put the salve on. But that ball of stuff has still got some good stuff in it. I'll probably pour some boiling water over that and then take a bath with it. God, 50 years old from a barter we did many, many years ago. Smell this stuff. Oh my God, it's like heaven. The essence of bee. Isn't that nice? It smell like a bee? It smell good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Got all the.
The beeswax that I get doesn't smell that sweet.
No, this is 50 years old. I mean, they put this kind of stuff down in the tombs of the Pharaoh, you know. Whew. Cool. All right, I'm gonna just put it over here. There is a proportion guide to how much beeswax to how much oil, but I'm a seat of the pants kind of person, so. I don't think I better do that. That's too hot.